I'm the board president, and I welcome you here this evening. We thought it would be a wonderful opportunity this year for to offer this to the residents of Potomac Station. This year, in the redistricting of Loudoun County, the Board of Supervisors our community is very unique, where our community is split between two districts. All of our residents who live east of River Creek Parkway have remained in the Potomac district, where we once used to be. Everybody west of River Creek Parkway are now part of the Leesburg district. So because we have new candidates, a new district, we thought it would be important for our residents to be informed and educated on who the candidates are and what their issues are and how they apply to issues that are close and near and dear to our hearts. So Tuesday night we had a meet the Potomac candidates, and those on the county side got to meet Mr. Baldwin and Mr. Higgins. Tonight I'd like to introduce the two candidates running for Leesburg seat of the County Board of Supervisors. We have Supervisor Kelly Burk, and we have Councilman Reid. The format for this evening is we're going to give them about 10-15 minutes. They don't have to take up that whole time, about 10 minutes to introduce themselves, share a little vision of what they have in mind for Leesburg, for the District of Leesburg, and for Loudoun County. After both candidates introduce themselves, we'll open it up to the floor for questions and answers. After each candidate introduces themselves, I'll hand out some literature to you so that you can read through, kind of get familiar with the candidates, and then ask your questions as they come. One of the most important things, I'll throw a question out to you. What is one of the most important things in the world of communication? Anyone know?
Lately it's Twitter.
I probably should ask the question this way. What is the most fundamental, important aspect in communication?
True. Two-way.
True? Two-way communication? Almost.
Listen.
Yes. Listening, to be heard. So, for the residents who are here at Potomac Station, we hear your concerns daily because you call our office. But to get your voices heard in a more public forum, we invited those running for office this evening so that you can share your passionate concerns with them so that they can hear you and address your concerns on a county level. Collectively, we can let our voices be heard, but we have to collectively let them be heard. So, I first will introduce Ms. Burk.
Thank you. I do want to thank you, and it's okay to stay seated rather than sit there. I want to thank you, Ronna, for organizing this event. Meeting the voter is so important, and having these types of events helps the candidates do that, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. But I am Kelly Burk. I'm the supervisor for this district. I have lived in Leesburg for 32 years. When I moved here, Leesburg had 8,000 people, if you can believe it. My husband and I raised two sons here, and I have been a Loudoun County special education teacher since 1980. My husband and I have always been involved in the community, and he was very active in sports and the Legion baseball, and I was always active in volunteering for the Literacy Council and tutoring children after school programs and working with teachers' issues, and I was elected to be president of the LEA. With Shenandoah University, I created a program to acknowledge teachers in specialized fields. And the university every year gives out an award called the Shenandoah Teacher of the Year Award, and it recognizes a Loudoun County teacher in a specialized area. And we have been doing that now for 13 years. I'm very proud of that. I had the honor of serving on the Leesburg Town Council, and I presently am the supervisor from the Leesburg District, and I'm running for re-election. I take my position very seriously. I know after 3.5 years of serving the community, being a supervisor comes with a great responsibility. I ran for this office 4 years ago to make a difference, not to add to the rhetoric, not to work in discord, not to block the progress of others, but to legislate in an open and honest way, to represent the people of Leesburg with the intention of getting things done. So when a group from the arts community comes to me and says, "You're our voice," as they have, or the disability community comes to me and says, "We need you to continue to help us gain access for the disabled," or the small businesswoman tells me she has never received a supervisor's assistance before, then I know that I am making a difference in the lives of people and people in Leesburg and Loudoun County. During my term in office, I've been able to lead the fight to help keep hospital jobs in Leesburg, to defend the airport tax rate, to support the Leesburg Airport as an economic development driver for our economy, to create the Limestone Overlay District to ensure that what's happening in one development down the road doesn't happen anywhere else. I was instrumental in getting Project Lifesavers implemented in Loudoun County. I championed and supported the disabled community as the board representative on the Disability Service Board. As a supervisor, I have supported the Fire and Rescue Department with funding and helped Leesburg citizens and groups with many and varied problems, including housing problems, mental health issues, social service issues, unemployment issues, even fencing issues, and most certainly towing issues. I've held a wildly successful job fair where over 500 high school and college students have met with employers hiring for summer and full-time positions. When Loudoun was presented the opportunity to have an independent baseball team here, which is a huge economic driver, I worked with the developer to include requirements, the like of which have never been seen before here in Loudoun County. Even the stadium will be a LEED certified building. The hair and rookery will be protected. The broad run will be protected with a state-of-the-art stormwater system, and many more positive environmental protections are part of this project. I help the town citizens to receive county-provided services for tax collection, zoning enforcement, and the county landfill usage, all without cost to the Leesburg taxpayer. I worked with my board colleagues to get funding for the Small Business Incubator and the Loudoun Museum and the Loudoun School SROs. I've also worked with the state and county officials to get funding for the Cyclone Overpass Bridge. When a group of citizens came to me with concerns about the master plan the county had developed in for the land next to their development, which was Kincaid and Tavistock, I was able to get the board to support creating the Citizens Board. And they looked over the plan. They worked with county staff and Supervisor Kurtz and myself to change the plan. They did a wonderful job of working together to solve the problem. And besides moving buildings, we may be able to complete cross trails to Route 7. This is a wonderful aspect of this discussion, and I'm very proud that I was able to get the citizens together and solve this problem. I didn't accept it when staff said nothing could be done to change things. With the hard work of the citizens, changes were made and the problems were solved. As chair of the Transportation and Land Use Committee for the last 3.5 years, I have guided the committee in working on many of the important issues that have come before the Board of Supervisors. I've done all of this by working with members individually, without consideration of party membership. That is the only way to get things done. I view the comprehensive plan as an excellent guide that allows us to determine where growth will happen and what type it will be. I have expected that developers coming before the committee to present proffers that will help pay for the impact of their development. If they have not done that, I have voted against that development. I have worked to increase the funding for transportation, not just for roads, but also for pedestrian and bike trails, metro, and buses. Loudoun County has a very successful commuter bus service that takes thousands of cars off the road every day. If anyone here thinks that development is over and no longer an issue, you are mistaken. There are over 30,000 homes in the pipeline waiting for the economy to turn around so they will be built. And the developers are waiting to see what the new board looks like when it comes, so that they can come in with new plans for large development. Over 70% of the county's budget goes to schools because all the houses that have been built. This does not include the new houses that aren't even built yet. When we allow a builder to build homes without demanding that they pay their fair share for the schools and the library and the fire and rescue and the police and the roads, if they don't pay those costs, it goes to the taxpayer that must pick up the bill. Right now, it costs the county twice as much money to provide services to a home than that home pays in taxes. We can ill afford to continue to allow houses to be built if developers don't pay their fair share. As supervisor, I work to improve the county's economic development department. In the 3 years, I have been able to change that office and make sure that there is an increase in the number of new businesses. We have many, many new businesses that have come here to Loudoun. We must recruit new businesses, but it's more important that we retain the small businesses that we have now. I have fought for sufficient school funding to support excellent education that the children of Loudoun County deserve. Some on the board think that taking away a percentage of funding is necessary every year without a reason or data to support that position. We cannot let our schools fail. If we want to truly attract businesses, we need to support our schools in a way that will help them continue to excel with the additional 3,000 students that are projected to come into the school system this coming year, and have been coming to the school system the last 2 years. I do believe that there are savings that can be achieved, but none of it will happen if one side is the name calling on the other and it goes back and forth. We need to work with the elected school boards to find savings, incorporating departments, reorganizing bus routes, or creating a committee of stakeholders with the building and within the buildings and asking their ideas for savings. All could achieve a balance of great schools and reasonable tax revenue. I supported and still do support the clean water ordinances that were based on the Chesapeake Bay ordinance. In Loudoun, we have streams that no one should walk in. Children should not play in them because they're too polluted. The cheapest and most efficient way to clean streams is to allow nature to filter the water before going into the streams, and to do that with buffers. It would cost the county nothing, and it would have prevented the developer from clear-cutting entire properties of all the trees that they always knock down. This would require that they leave a vegetative buffer next to the streams. The second component of this ordinance was that if you choose to build in that buffer area a 25 by 25 foot building or larger, then you have to mitigate the impact of that building. You know that if you're going to build right on a stream with a large structure, you are definitely going to have an impact on that stream. So it didn't seem unreasonable for me to expect you to make sure you don't have that impact and to do things to change it. The last element of the ordinance was if you had a septic system, then you would have to be required to clean it or inspect it every 5 years. However, if this had passed, it still would not apply to Leesburg. Leesburg will have to come up with its own ordinance to protect its streams. The EPA is requiring locations to reach a certain benchmark. There are other ways to keep clean streams, but they are going to cost a great deal of money for the taxpayer. As you might have heard in the town meetings, the town is grappling with how to meet the new stormwater requirements. The initial estimates are in around $35 million. The county will have to find other ways to deal with it too. The issue of clean water is not going to go away, and it will not be cheap. I believe we lost a huge opportunity to cheaply clean and protect our streams. This is just a sampling of what I've achieved this term. And you can see that while on the board, I've always put Leesburg first. But as a supervisor, I govern all of Loudoun County. I accomplished a great deal for the residents of Leesburg and Loudoun County, but there's still more to do. We need to make sure that the Cyclone flyover really does get built. The Crossrails extends to Route 7. We need to turn our attention to Edwards Ferry and Route 15 and get a pedestrian overpass. We need to continue on working on making Leesburg and Loudoun County a place where small businesses come to succeed, where our county's economic development department is second to none in recruiting new businesses and retaining old ones. We have to ensure citizens needing a place to sleep or a meal to eat have somewhere to go. We need to continue to make sure our citizens' taxes are being efficiently and effectively used, and that schools continue to provide an excellent education to our schools. As our economy improves and developments begin again in earnest, and believe me, they will, we need to expect developers to pay their fair share of the infrastructure costs. And we need to make sure that our airport continues to be recognized by the town and the county as an important economic driver. We need to make sure Leesburg and Loudoun County continue to have the quality of life that supports the businesses and families that are here. The Irish poet Yeats wrote, "In dreams begin responsibilities." Well, I believe I've demonstrated in these last 3.5 years that I put Leesburg first in my energies, my passion, and my dreams. And I accept the responsibility as the supervisor from the Leesburg district. I hope that you will share my vision for the county and Leesburg and vote to re-elect me to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rona. I want to thank you and the board for holding this forum. I want to thank Supervisor Burk for being here. I wrote here back in April asking for a series of community debates or forums like this. She didn't My name is Ken Reid. I've been on the town council in Leesburg since 2006. I've lived in Leesburg since 2002. Like many of you, you had a house built here, and I moved into Tavistock Farms. My wife lived in the back room, if anybody wants to live in that. And we have two twins. We have twins at the Heritage High School. I own a business, it's a publishing business, and I am celebrating or observing my 20th anniversary in business this year. So I own a little commercial building in town as well. I was reelected last year by the voters in Leesburg, and now I'm running for the Board of Supervisors in what I'm calling the new Leesburg district, because there are 4 new precincts, including this one, that were part of Supervisor Kurtz's district, and she is retired. As I walk around Leesburg and talk to residents, and I've talked to a fair number, I'm sort of on a little listening tour, I'm finding several things, several common themes. First of all, I find a lot of people are very, very concerned about the cost of commuting, especially the tolls on the Dulles Greenway and the Dulles Toll Road. It's adding to the gas prices. Because of gas prices going up, people very much want new roads. They very much want to see new transportation initiatives. And transportation has been one of my fortes, one of my passions, even before I moved here in 2002. I find that people are extremely concerned about the nature of the economy and their jobs. Right here at Potomac Station, I met a lady who her hours were cut. It's getting hard for her to maintain a house. People are concerned about their property values, whether they're going to improve. They're concerned a little bit about overdevelopment and what the town is doing to try to attract high quality jobs and development that the county is doing or failing to do. I find that people are extremely concerned about the schools. I find that a lot of folks are, especially when I talk to teachers, very, very upset with the Board of Supervisors for what they did for cutting back the pay in 2 days. And very concerned about spending on new technology that has, in their view, marginal benefit to students. Very concerned about just the overall economic picture. And so, as someone who has created jobs, someone who has hired, fired, has had to make payroll, has had to live with regulations, I feel that I am well positioned to be on the board, and here's why. When I ran for office in 2006, the town of Leesburg had a terrible reputation as a place to open a business. The processes were completely ignored by the council. The council was putting money into economic development areas that were really not panning out, and they were ignoring their processes and their regulations. And so a new group of folks in the council saw to it that we were going to be more business friendly, more proactive, and that's what we've done. And you can see the results. This town's business property tax revenue has doubled since 2006. Our meals tax revenue has tripled because we have made it friendlier for restaurants. We have kept the tax rate level. Most people in Leesburg, if it depends on your assessment, have gotten a tax cut from the town. Leesburg now has a reputation among people as being among the best places to do business. Loudoun County has a horrible reputation. It has a very bad reputation. And so therefore businesses are extremely reluctant to come here. The ordinance that Ms. Burk mentioned is well intentioned to protect our streams, but it has really chilled the business environment. The county spends more money on animal control than it spends on economic development. The county has only 18% of its tax base from business. And as long as we're going to have a situation where there's going to be folks on one side who want to have their property taxes kept low, and people who want quality schools and quality services, we're going to constantly nickel and dime our teachers, we're going to nickel and dime other services, and we're going to be sitting there trying to deal with limited pie. My feeling is we have to make the pie bigger. Bringing jobs here not only helps our residents with long commutes so they can find jobs here in Loudoun County, it means businesses water system in Leesburg and our sewer system, which will help keep our water and sewer rates down. And I'm very concerned the Board of Supervisors has turned its back on the town when it comes to that issue, and that we're at odds. It means not as long commutes. It means more business tax revenue. Let me just give you an example about a fellow who wants to build a secure industrial park with a green energy plant south of town. He's spent over $1 million to get through the process, and it's taken 3 years. That's going to produce, he estimates, $40 million in tax revenue. Ms. Burk's planning commissioner is here who voted against that. She did vote for it, and I appreciate that. The process is adversarial, and we discovered in Leesburg that as long as we were going to be adversarial with businesses, whether they're big or small, they weren't going to come here. So my mantra, and the thing that I'm focusing on in my campaign, is to bring jobs to Loudoun County. In terms of transportation, there are better uses of county funds than to build Cross Trail Boulevard all the way to Route 7. Until there's a study that tells me that we need to spend $27 or $30 million to deal with the environmental issues across 2 creeks, I'd rather see the money go to Sickle Road. I'd rather see the money go into some road improvements around here, completing Battlefield Parkway, and we're going to complete 2 lanes over to Edwards Ferry Road this summer. The road's going to close for a while. I would rather see money put into the Edwards Ferry Road interchange, and the county instead is going in the wrong direction. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I really want to hear your questions. I want to hear your ideas and your concerns. My website is kenreid.org. You can Facebook me if you want. I don't use Twitter. And I have literature up here. If any of you are Republicans, you want to come to our convention on the 23rd of July, there's a form. And I also have forms here to fill out if you want to volunteer for my campaign. And I have a brochure for my friend Randy Minshew, who's running for the House of Delegates in this new district. And thank you very much.
And welcome to those who joined us late. Thank you, Supervisor Burk. Thank you, Councilman Reid. We will now entertain questions from the floor. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll call on you, and we'll proceed until 8:30. Gentlemen in the back.
Since transportation brought up specifically Cross Trail, I'm curious, what is the transportation plan to serve the Concord development, and is the Cross Trail's completion part of that system? No.
You know better about Concord, so you go ahead.
Are you talking about Kincaid?
Concord.
Cross Trails to Concord?
I'm asking what will serve Concord? East-west.
Oh, you're talking about Gloucester Parkway, perhaps? Concord, the
Well,
development.
that's what I'm asking. I'm trying to understand how this transportation system is going to be continued south of 7, basically from where we are,
Right,
over the 28.
right. And that's, that is what is part of the process of the Concord development right now. That's part of the reason I voted against it. The developer is asking to use CDAs. Originally he came in and he wanted to use the county's bonding authority to create the roads that he needed for his development, but the Gloucester being one of them, that would then take it across and line up with over to Russell Branch Parkway and all of that, get it all connected. I have problems with the fact that the developer was not going to be paying for the roads, that it would be using our bonding abilities, and if something should happen, then the county would be responsible for those roads. Then he came back with another plan that he would phase it in 20 years. Now he's looking at moving it to the Industrial Development Authority. And so I'm not quite sure where it is at this point, because he's really looking at different ways to fund this road, because he doesn't have enough money to do it himself. Did that answer your question?
Well, it certainly addresses a concern, yeah. I mean, that's all part of this transportation question we have, and of course, this is how we seem to proceed with our transportation all the time. So it's a constant, and it never really seems to be resolved.
And then we have the corridor of state significance that is also coming into play in that center. You know, the majority of our traffic is moving, as you said, west to east to get to jobs. The state is looking at making a road that would take traffic from 95 and drop it on Route 7. I'm not sure how that would help Loudoun County, but most certainly I've stated that I'm opposed to it, and I don't think that that's very productive for Loudoun County to have a road going that way that's going to bring traffic from 95, which we all know is very congested, over here and have nowhere to take it. I've talked to some people over on the Maryland side. That's an agricultural district that they have preserved for 20, 30 years, and they're not going to change that. But more importantly, they told me they're not going to do anything to compete with BWI, the airport over there. They don't want to have a road to go from BWI to Dulles to benefit Dulles. So on the Maryland side, there's not been a great deal of interest expressed in building a bridge. So the road then would have to end at Route 7.
Yes, I just have to respond to the last point. There has been a lot of scare tactics and hype about what the Commonwealth Transportation Board did. All they did was preserve the right-of-way for the Tri-County Parkway and the Bi-County Parkway. There was no river crossing. This was an initiative by Doug Coolaway, who was appointed, I think, by Governor King, a Democratic appointee to the board. I saw him the other day at the Northern Virginia Transportation Alliance. And he basically said this has nothing to do with an outer beltway. This is strictly to preserve the right-of-way for two roads that an active group in this county, Piedmont Environmental Council, opposes. There's no river crossing. There's nothing involved whatsoever. And for us to deny the fact that we need better movement between here and Prince William County is really putting your head in the sand. I had a lot of experience driving down to Richmond over the winter with my wife to pick our kids up. They were pages from General Assembly, and to take 17 and 15 was really very difficult. And that's all the CTV did. In terms of Kincora, you know, Neil, I believe that the Board of Supervisors, and I was talking to Bob Oneiser about this, who's on the school board, did not really do a very thorough job on the road improvements. And this is why I believe that I will have a great benefit being on the Board of Supervisors, is because I'm so very much involved with the details of roads, and I ask these kinds of questions, and I basically can see, you know, just from my own background of being an activist and an advocate for transportation and for the funding, that the road problem is going to be there. So you're right, the road problem is going to be there, and it's because we have supervisors who don't sit there and ask the detailed questions. And right now, again, I believe that the board is making a terrible waste of our tax dollars to spend $27 million to build Cross Trail Boulevard to Kincaid Boulevard, which the folks in Kincaid Forest do not want, in order to service county facilities, which will not have the commensurate benefit. I can see $27 million being spent on Route 7 to help people get to work, so they don't have to pay the tolls on the Greenway. That's where I would rather see the money. However, we probably have to spend maybe $5 to $10 million to service the park on Cross Trail. So again, it's just a difference in philosophy here. And I'm one who would like to see highways built, but I want to see the right highways built.
Thank you, gentleman in the back. If your question is specific to a candidate, if you would specify their name.
Both should answer my question. My name is Jafar Imam. I'm a resident of Sterling, Loudoun County for 31 years. My two questions. First is, when any major developer moves in, they hardly contribute to anything for the citizens of the Loudoun County. The example is Dallas Town Center, Lerner Enterprise. They have 11 shopping centers. They never gave any kind of a land for the soccer field where the kids can play, or a park. All they are doing is housing and shopping and all those office buildings. Another is Lansdowne, based in Connecticut. They came and they didn't contribute anything. The question is, I'm not sure, I read the paper, but the Wegman right here in your district, whether they have contributed some of the land as a profit to the county or not. And it should, to me as a citizen, it's a very serious thing. And all the supervisors, unfortunately, they, in my own estimation, they do not pay really a serious consideration that they, when they come and talk to the board of supervisors, there should be a precondition for this, guaranteeing of profit of the land.
Maybe I can, if I understand your question, if I'm not, please let me know. Right now, the county has a formula for all the different types of activities that are required when a developer comes in. The developer, we ask the developer to pay towards the police, towards the community, community activities, towards the roads, towards the fire and rescue, towards libraries, towards schools. All these different things we figured out as development comes in, these are the things that the county has to provide because of that development. There's a formula of how much they need to contribute, but we can only ask them for it. In Virginia, you can't demand it. You can only ask them for it. And when and that's one of the things that is one of my issues, is that we need to ask for it. We need to not approve it if we don't get it. We need to look at what are they contributing, what is the cost to the taxpayer by this development coming in. Sure, it may be a nice shopping center, it might be nice houses, but what is the impact to us as taxpayers who are already here? And that's what doesn't get looked at a lot of times. A lot of times it gets brushed over. Mr. Reid made reference to a security business park that a developer is considering. It is in the transition area that is not supposed to be a highly developed area. Once you open that door, then all of a sudden the rest of that area, you open it up to developing that area. What is that impact that that's going to have on the area around it, and what are they contributing? Those are the questions you have to ask as these developments come in. The other aspect of the development is you've got to have 9 votes. So those developers come in and they lobby really hard at different supervisors. And if you don't believe in the comprehensive plan and you don't follow it, you can be persuaded that it's a good thing to have them come and not necessarily demand as much from them as you should. My favorite story is Wegmans. Wonderful business, great community activists. They do a lot for the community. They're from Rochester, New York. My husband is from Rochester, and we were up there visiting friends, and they're friends with the Wegmans. And he said to me at a party, you know, I wish we had known that Virginia was so easy, because we in New York, you have to set aside all that money. You have to give it. And so they had set it all aside, thinking that they were going to have to do it here. They got here, we didn't ask for it. They didn't offer it, but we didn't ask for it. So unfortunately, because of the way the state's rules are set up, proffers are voluntary, and we can't demand, but we can ask, and we can rescind our vote or not vote for it based on the fact of what are they contributing to the proffers.
I can't answer your question about Dulles Town Center. I'm so Leesburg focused. I spent all my time here. I apologize. But the village of Leesburg, I think, was a good rezoning. I believe that that was a fantastic development and a fantastic service to this community. They gave several hundred thousands of dollars to our Parks and Rec department in CAD. They gave money for the parks. They built this interchange. I don't know if many of you were here when that was an at-grade traffic light. Was anybody here when that was just a traffic light at Route 7? There was some terrible accidents, and I think the town did a fantastic job negotiating those proffers. That was a development that I supported wholeheartedly, primarily because my wife was bugging me and saying, when are we going to get a light? Tired of those Sterling. I voted against that rezoning. But I believe that was very well proffered. In fact, that our Parks and Rec department did get funds for it. So, but I'm sorry I can't answer that.
My second question, of course, I will make another comment. Again, the comment about as a concerned citizen of Loudoun County, I'm almost sure that Fairfax County has a different set of the policy when some developers, major developers, they move in with the Loudoun County. Still, Washington Post, many years ago, ran a story, 2 days story, about the Loudoun County, in the northern region, including suburban Maryland also, has the real shortage of the field. Sporting field, like soccer and baseball and all this.
Could you repeat that? Had a what with the field?
Real shortage.
Real shortage.
Shortage. And it was a front page story many years ago, and somehow we are not paying attention. The population is increasing, and there are the kids that they want to have some their soccer field of baseball, anything. So anyhow, this is my comment, and I will request that this should be considered and discussed in the meeting in future. My second question is related to the.
Before you go to your second question,
Sure.
that is always discussed. We are short of fields. You are absolutely right. Fairfax may be better about voting against developments if they don't contribute, but they're under the same rules. As a state of Virginia, we as localities are not allowed to demand proffers. They are voluntary. That's across the state. But maybe Fairfax is better about demanding it and staying together as a group and getting what they wanted. We do have a group that looks at the facilities and has come up with how many schools are we going to need, how many roads are we going to need, how many libraries, and we are still short with fields. And so that's something that this particular board has worked to try to get in each of the developments is more fields. We're absolutely delighted that Bowling Field is open because there's 17 fields in there. But it's always a struggle to get those, and it's always tough when they offer a library and they don't offer a field, or they offer a fire station and they don't offer a field. And so it's always a difficult push to try to figure out where are you getting the best bang. And sometimes the fields, you're right, end up suffering, and we definitely have a shortage even now.
Yeah, regarding sorry, can I talk?
Go ahead, you can
Yeah.
finish that.
Regarding mental health issue in the Loudoun County, as you know, population is growing and it will keep on growing. What we are going to do to improve the mental health, that some of the, unfortunately, there is a sizable percentage of the people that do suffer, and how we are going to have better funding and better kind of a mental health care for those citizens, not only in the East, but in the entire Loudoun County.
After you respond to this question, if any of you have any other questions, keep that in mind, we'll go to another question. Would you like to respond?
You go ahead first.
This is a serious problem over the country. And we've seen it. We've seen the tragic results in Arizona. Right here in Reid, it was serious stabber. I don't know if it was a case of mental health or not, but I think somebody to do that. Again, I fall back on the fact that we are going to continue to nickel and dime these services unless we broaden our tax base. Richmond is never going to give us a sales tax or a meals tax. They're never going to give us that authority. This is a Dillon rule state. To be frank, I wouldn't really welcome a lot of new taxes here in Loudoun County. But what I do support is a healthier business climate. More people working here, more jobs, more business. That's what we need. I neglected to mention we have 8,000 people in this county who are unemployed. That's a lot. And that's just the official numbers. There could be thousands more who are just not taking employment or have severance or something like that. So even though we rank very low across the country, the fact is that people are stressed and we need good services. And look at Fairfax County, because they have an incredible job-making machine. They have most of the new jobs in Washington area created in Fairfax County. They have an economic development authority that sees to it. They don't have to get into a situation like our school board did, where they basically they take the stimulus money, or maybe the board of supervisors did, is take the stimulus money to to balance the budget instead of investing it into the classroom. So that's the kind of situation we're in. And if we can get broader tax base, then we can have those services, or else we're going to be in debt forever, especially with all the schools that the superintendent wants to build.
I'd like to point out a couple of things. Your question on mental health is a real serious one. We received a survey the other day that they're approximating 640 students that are homeless in this area. That mental health issues are on the rise. I have a woman who comes into my office monthly that is convinced that her friend has been kidnapped by social services and she wants to find her. And we can't convince her that her friend is fine. Her friend doesn't want to be found by her. But she's sure that she has been kidnapped and that she wants to. So every month she comes in, even though we try to get her into counseling, we try to get her into receiving help. She doesn't want it. So there is, you have to help the people want it. And that's what we've been working on, trying to get her to the point that she realizes she needs the help. But it is a really big, important issue, and it ends up that those are the things that end up getting cut in our budgets, and we have every year. And it's not fair, but it is what ends up happening. And they are the ones that have the least amount of voice. Supervisor McJimsey and I have each year fought to get that funding increased. We have not been successful, but that is something that has been very important, and it's going to be on the increase. I did want to point out that Loudoun's unemployment rate is 4.4%. We're at the national rate is 9 point something, 9.8 I think at this point, but Loudoun remains at 4.4. Northern Virginia is 4.9, so we're even in better shape than Fairfax and Northern Virginia as a whole. But some business, I think it's pretty significant if you hear some of the businesses that have relocated to Loudoun County. Northwoods is 355,000 square foot industrial development that has attracted tenants including Ward, North American, a moving and storage company, and federal government contracts, Raytheon, and NITEC. Other businesses that have relocated in Loudoun are the business office supply company Jimsy. Its a national headquarters has moved here. The Virginia chapter Association of Builders and Contractors, a Northern Virginia headquarters and training facility has moved here. We've gotten the 92,000 square foot headquarters consolidation of the New Star Tech Center. Rockwell Collins broke ground on a new 200,000 square foot building to be in Sterling. The county is now the national industrial leader and home to one of the largest data center markets in the country. Digital Realty Trust is an ongoing campus expansion representing $350 million investment and 50 new jobs. Equinox expansion is a result of a $100 million investment. DTR and Equinox are two of the world's largest data center operators. Amazon.com is here, as is Verizon, as is Visa, as is DuPont Vibros. We just opened JK Moving and Storage moved here, and we have just the other day Miltech, which is a Danish company, has moved its company over here. A huge trash collector, phenomenal building, going to bring in a number of jobs. So to say that we haven't been attracting businesses is erroneous. That's not true. We have been attracting. We've been attracting some really high quality businesses that bring jobs with them. So I think I'll stop here.
We'll move on. We have 15 minutes, so if you have other questions, please. Yes, one in the back.
One of the leaders of your party, Janelli, just came out against rail to Dulles. Do you agree with them, or are you supporting rail to Dulles?
It's going to happen. I just hope that the cost growth runs are not going to be so severe. I support the board's efforts to try to make the rail station underground. The Washington Airport's task force came out with a very good study. I haven't got the detail, but they could save $700 million on it. So
favor?
Rail to Dulles. I think it's a very important economic driver. It will bring businesses here. It will bring development that is transit oriented, and it will certainly. We're going to have to work out the details of where it's going to be located and the cost associated with it, but it most certainly is an important element.
Any other questions? Yes.
Will that impact the cost of the tolls on the toll road and Greenway? And, you know, I've heard that the rates are just gonna keep going up. And is there a solution to, you know?
You're talking about the toll road
Yes.
as opposed to the Greenway?
Yes.
That's part of the problem. That's what we have to work out. That's what we have to make sure, it's not transferred to the commuter, but that's on the road. But those are all the issues that we're discussing right now. The chairman of the Fairfax Board, the chairman of the Loudoun Board, the Secretary of Transportation are all meeting together to discuss this whole issue of what's going to happen. What are the costs, how are we going to control them, and the impact of that. But the Loudoun Board of Supervisors has come, take a position in opposition to the location, the cost, and the impact to the tolls.
Any other questions? Yes, Jim.
So I'll just stuck on transportation. Given two scenarios, you have the Dulles Freeway built, if I understand correctly, almost entirely with private funding. At least it's a public-private partnership. Operates successfully for years, sold to Australia. That company is certainly entitled to make a profit on their investment. But one of the issues, of course, now is the increase in toll. On the other hand, you have the cross-county collective. I believe this is what is referred to in Montgomery County, built with public funds. I think you may have actually, years ago, had some, not the financial interest, but you were involved in that. Okay. Recently completed. Drivers and citizens certainly have expectations when these projects are completed. Now that, I read correctly a couple weeks ago, that toll road is scheduled to become one of the highest tolls in the country. So how is supervisors, given public and private situations with basically the same results, how do you as supervisors propose to have any satisfactory resolution for either one of those situations as far as citizens and taxpayers are concerned?
Well, I would, first thing was I don't care about my own.
You don't care about what?
The second thing is that is exactly what's being discussed at this point. How do we impact that? How do we keep that from happening? As you well know, the toll road is controlled by an appointed board, and they set the rates and they set what's going to happen on the road, what improvements and that sort of thing. That's where it's going to have to come from, and that's where the influence is going to have to be. But most certainly, the Board of Supervisors from both Fairfax and Loudoun County have expressed their concern and their disapproval of increases that make it unreasonable to be able to go on those roads. I think in the end, it's going to be the market that's going to end up driving it. I mean, when it gets to the point that you can't afford to go on those roads, how are you going to go on them? And you know, all of that's going to have to come together at some point in time. But it is an important issue, and it is something that's affecting a lot of drivers. Part of the issue also is getting them off the roads and getting them onto the transit. That's part of the issue that the board, highway board is trying to make, is that whatever the toll is, that will encourage more people to get on the metro. I think there has to be a balance there, as opposed to having it be so extravagantly expensive. But those talks are in the process of going on right now.
Well, first of all, I want to briefly address the unemployment figure. If you're one of those 4,000 people, it doesn't matter what percentages, you're unemployed, and it's very difficult for folks to get jobs. And it also sets a spiral where you have a certain overhead, one person is a two-income household, loses their job, or has hours cut back, so it's a serious thing, even though the statistics are not as high as they are in the rest of the country. The toll situation is a problem. Before I was elected, I was involved. I formed a group called NoTollIncrease.com, which was dealing with Dulles Toll Road tolls, and at that time it was only going from a quarter to 50 cents. And what is it now? $2 each way, and it could go to 10 or 11 each way on the toll road if the Dulles Rail project isn't brought under control. control and their fees. I think Governor Kane made a serious mistake. The General Assembly did not follow through to allow the Airports Authority to take control of the toll road and to have a board, which is 2/3 Maryland and DC residents, make the decision on what mostly Virginians pay. So that was a really bad deal. The Commonwealth Transportation Board used to be the toll setting authority, and that's now been taken away. And it was done, I think, because people in the General Assembly and Board of Supervisors didn't want to be held accountable. So it's easy for the Board of Supervisors or the General Assembly to say, I'm against those toll increases, but it's an unelected appointed board that's going to be making that decision. The Greenway situation is a problem because when I co-founded NoTollIncrease.org in 2007 to fight the Greenway toll increase, is that they're so leveraged to their eyeballs from junk bond debt that they borrowed back in the late 90s and early 2000s under the previous owners that they can't refinance it. Those bondholders are making good money off of us. Now, there's things that can be examined if the state wants to look into maybe some kind of cost-sharing situation, or if the county board of supervisors wants to abate their taxes. I think they pay $4 or $5 million a year in taxes. I mean, these things can be examined, but it is a private road. And Maryland did a very novel thing by having their transportation authority. They have a statewide transportation authority, which we don't, to help build the intercounty connector. But that's congestion price, Neil. It's not always going to be that expensive. During peak congestion, that's when the tolls are going to go really high on that road. The Dulles Greenway, it's a flat, $5, and it's going to go even higher. It doesn't matter the time of day. And they refuse to look at variable pricing, so you don't have to pay as much if you go from Leesburg to Ashburn or Ashburn to the toll plaza. So, you know, we're sort of stuck. But the lack of accountability on the tolls with the Airports Authority, the fact that they have completely thumbed their noses at the Fairfax and Loudoun board and everyone else is very disheartening. It really is. And I hope that they come to some resolution to that.
Yes, we have probably time for one more question.
Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it a Republican platform position that they support private roads of which the citizens have no control over the tolls that are enacted? Am I missing something?
Not this candidate here. I think it was terrible to have the State Corporation Commission be in charge of the Dulles Greenway tolls. The State Corporation Commission doesn't listen to anybody. They didn't listen to us with the power lines. Look at Route 7, who goes to the State Corporation Commission. So, you know, there's 3 folks on the State Corporation Commission. No, I think it would have been much better. That predates my time here. That was a decision that was made a long time ago to give them the oversight over the tolls as opposed to the CTB.
Actually, we have time for one more question. Yes, Mr. Gentleman.
Mr. Reid, you made the statement that the Water Act imperils business. Could you explain that?
The what?
The Clean Water Act retards business growth?
I didn't say the Clean Water Act. I said the Chesapeake Bay Protection Ordinance.
It's Clean Water Act.
Well, it's a voluntary provision. Loudoun County is looking at embracing it, and they've obviously backed off because our wineries, our organic farms, and other people who may want to build are sitting back there, and it just gives a.
Could you explain? That's the part I don't understand. How?
Because Joseph,
Yeah.
when you're a business owner, and especially if you're small, you're not going to look at all of the details. If you get an image in your mind that a place is a bad place to do business, you'll go somewhere else. And that's what happened in Leesburg for all these years. And so
You're not answering the question.
I oppose the CBPO because it is an imposition also on property rights as well. There are many suburban property owners outside the town of Leesburg, this doesn't affect Leesburg, who are up in arms over that ordinance. But it is just an
Even though it has no effect on it.
I think it has an effect on you if you're going to be prohibited, if your backyard backs up to a stream and you're going to be prohibited from developing within 50 or 100 feet. I think that's a problem. It's interesting that I saw in the paper that now the board is looking at an economic incentive, and I actually discussed that with our town's Environmental Advisory Commission chairman, and she supported that idea, because we have a Creek Valley buffer ordinance, which is on hold now, that would affect Leesburg, and she was all in favor of using economic incentives to achieve that goal, and I don't know why the board didn't think of that 2 or 3 years ago before they embarked on this effort to just basically bring back a river and stream corridor overlay district and just have a one-size-fit-all overall property. So if there's an economic incentive plan for that, that's something I might consider.
Can I, respond to that? Mr. Reid just said that, would prohibit you from, that particular Clean Water Act would prohibit you from building or developing your property if you live near a stream. It did not prohibit you. It did require that if you were going to build in that buffer, that you would have to mitigate, that you would have to do things. And you would have to make sure that you were doing things that would make sure that you were not impacting that stream downstream from where you were. It never said that you couldn't build. And we were very, very adamant about that people could build, but that they would have to do things.
But it's another hurdle, Kelly, you see, it's another hurdle that you're making people go through. I always remember the organic farmer from Hillsborough who says, there's a certain place I want to grow carrots, and I won't be able to do it under this rule.
And he later found out that he was incorrect.
All right, it's 8:30. I want to thank both candidates who are here this evening. Councilman Reid, Supervisor Burk. If anything, for those Potomac Station residents who are here, for those guests from other areas, if anything, this is democracy at its best. To be able to hear both candidates, both visions, both responses to obviously passionate issues in our county: transportation, clean water, schools, facilities for the public, development, participation. So we hope by the responses that you heard from both candidates gives you an open mind, perhaps even spawns more questions as you go throughout this election time. And November 8th, remember to vote and to be as educated as possible. Thank you for coming.
Stupid questions like that.